So this is lesson 7.2a, elementary algebra, multiplication and division of rational expressions. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a whole bunch of stuff that we've already done and put it all together in this lesson. And that's why you learn the whole bunch of stuff, is so you can use it later. Now if you remember from a while back when you learned how to multiply fractions, you multiplied the numerators and you multiplied the denominators. And then you took this and then you could reduce it. So let's see, 15, just taking half of 30, half of 40, or 84 is 42. And 3 goes into both of those 5 times, and 3 into 42, 14. Okay, so that is your answer, reduced. There's another way of multiplying these without having to go through this step of getting a big fraction and then having to reduce it. And the way that is basically you reduce it first. So I'm going to make 4, 2 times 2, 10, 2 times 5, and 21, 3 times 7. And then watch. Cancel that 3 with that 3, that 2 with that 2, and what do I get? 5 over 14. So I reduced it, got the same answer, but I reduced it before I actually multiplied. Now when there's a multiplication sign here, you can multiply across that sign. You can multiply this 3, or you can cancel this 3 with this 3, this 2 with this 2. So that multiplication sign basically just means 3 times 2 times 5 over 2 times 2 times 3 times 7. So then it's canceling that, and then getting your 5 over 14. All right, we're going to do that when we come into some of these algebraic expressions that we've been working with. And if you look at example 2, we have 3a plus 6 over a squared times a over a plus 4. Alright, so what we can do with this is, well, first of all, if I'd write the problem right, that would help. 2a plus 4. Okay, so I'm going to simplify. I'm going to look at this, and I'm going to write that as 3 times a plus 2 over a times a times a over, I'm going to take a 2 out of there and get that. So I simplified each of these terms so that I get what I have below it. Then I can cancel that whole thing, one of those a's, one of those a's, and I end up left on top a 3, and on the bottom a 2 and an a. And I'm done. Okay? Now when you've got some, now those are multiplication. Let's look at some that are divided, and you'll find that it's not a problem at all. Over x squared minus 16, oh my goodness, divided by Alright, so basically what this division sign means is everything to the right of it, this problem here, we're going to flip it upside down and change that division sign to a times sign. So x squared plus 7x plus 12 over x squared minus 16, change it to a times sign, flip these over, and then we just do it as a multiplication. We don't worry about the division. Alright, so let's look at this one here. Simplify that. 3 and 4. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 plus 4 is 7. Difference of 2 squares. Factor out a 2. And this would reduce to x plus 3 and x plus 3. Okay, so we simplified each of these 4 pieces here. Now we cancel. I've got an x plus 3 that'll cancel with that. An x plus 4 cancel with that. x minus 4, cancel with that. And what do I have left on the top? I have a 2 on top, and what do I have left on the bottom? X plus 3. And I'm done. Alright, so continue on here, looking at example number 4. We have 3x minus 9 over x squared minus x minus 20 divided by, or I'm just going to write it as times, and I'm going to flip them over, just so I don't have to write everything twice. Okay. So let's do this. This. Negative 5 times 4 is negative 20. Negative 5 plus 4 is negative 1. And this. And we're going to take this and make a change, because let's switch it around. Okay. So I just put the x squared first, and then the 2x and the 15, but that negative is going to cause problems, so I'm going to pull it out. And remember, you just change the sign of everything else. So this is what I'm going to put in the bottom. Alright, and that then can be simplified, this right here. So let's go ahead and simplify it. So I'm going to erase all this. And we'll put the negative out here, 2 binomials, because here is what we've got there. So I've got an x here and an x there. 5, and it'll be a plus 5 minus 3. 5 times negative 3 is negative 15. 5 minus 3 is positive 2. Now I can go and start canceling. So I can cancel that with that, that with that, that with that, and that leaves me with a 3 on top over a negative. That negative didn't cancel, it's still there, and then I've got an x plus 4, and that's my answer. Alright, let's look at example number 5, and it's saying multiply. And whenever it's asking you to multiply, and one of them is a fraction and one of them is not, you just make the other one a fraction by putting it over 1. Now they're both fractions. So let's go ahead and simplify. So we've got the difference of 2 squares there. So 7 plus x and 7 minus x over 1 times, well, I guess I don't need that parenthesis like that, x plus 4 over x minus 7. Okay, so at this point it doesn't look like I can cancel anything, because this is an x minus 7 and this is a 7 minus x. Now if we were to flip this around, it would be negative x plus 7. Now notice, x and 7, but this x is negative and here it's not. This 7 is positive, here it's not. So what I can do is, remember when you have like negative x plus 7 and you want this to be positive, you just pull it out of the parenthesis and change the sign of everything inside. So I took that negative and pulled it out. This x, which is now negative, became positive. The 7 became negative. So now, instead of that being a 7 minus x, let's do this in white, it becomes a, it becomes a negative x minus 7. So this and this are the same thing, over 1 times x plus 4 over x minus 7. So now that can cancel with that. Now that negative is still there. So that negative, we'll just put it in the front. I've got my 7 plus x that I took from there, and I have an x plus 4 that I have there, but everything on the bottom canceled, so this ends up being my answer. So, all that to say, when you are doing your math and you run into something that is the exact same numbers, so 7 minus x, and that's over x minus 7, and you're like, wow, it'd be nice if I could cancel those. I've got an x on top and bottom and a 7 on the top and bottom, but the signs are different. This one's a positive, this is a negative, this is a negative, that one's a positive. So, if and it doesn't matter which one you do it to, but if I were to pull out a negative, then this would change around. It would change the sign. So one of the things that the book does, and I'm not sure if the way I did it would be the easiest for you or the way the book did, but when they had their 49 minus x squared, for example 5, they saw immediately that that x was negative. So they're going to switch it around so that it's in the right order, and then they pull that negative out like that. I did it after. I did this as 7 plus x and 7 minus x, and then factored the x out. Doesn't really matter which way you do it. This way may be easier for some of you, the way I have. The way I did it earlier might be the easiest. Either way works. Because on this one, you've got negative, and then you've got the difference of 2 squares. Which is exactly what I got when I did it the other way. So, it doesn't really matter. You can pull out that negative before you even get started, or you can do it later. Alright, which brings us to example number 6, and we'll start that on the next video.